Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Roland, of course, and the program is called Shedding Shackles. I'm simultaneously making a radio program and a live recording here in the studio on video. Today I want to talk about the times that we live in are very difficult. They're becoming more difficult. And the reason they're becoming more difficult, see, times have always been tough. They always have been. But they're becoming more difficult because we have been used to a rather mild and benign environment, especially here in the United States, and also benevolent to a certain extent. And it has its roots in the Constitution and the type of people who founded this country, our founding fathers. And it's been a country of freedom, of opportunity, where you could get up in the morning and stretch and look out at the beautiful day and go out and make a beautiful life. But now it's changing. We still have some of that. We still have a lot of it compared to the rest of the world. But now totalitarianism is raising its ugly head. And it's coming from places that you wouldn't expect. Or you would expect. Well, an enlightened person would expect. But one not so enlightened is surprised by it. But what I want you to see now is that those eternal verities, those foundational truths, those things that you have held dear throughout your life will now hold you in very good stead, and you must cling to them. One of my favorite books was a book called A Vietnam Experience by Vice Admiral James Stockdale. He was a very nice man who had been captured and held by the North Vietnamese in the Hanoi Hilton for many years. As a political prisoner, he was tortured. And after he was able to get out, he wrote of his experiences, and he also became a fellow, I guess they called it, at the Stanford Institute. And he taught students. And his book tells of his experiences. But in his book, he talks about these things. It's a very good book. It's called A Vietnam Experience. If you can find it, by Vice Admiral James Stockdale. It's worth reading, especially for these kind of times. But he talks about the simple things that helped him to get through those years of solitary confinement and torture. He talked about poetry and about music and about mathematics and, of course, about God. And those basic things that we hold dear. And we don't hold them so dear until they begin to be taken away. Then all of a sudden we realize how nice they were. It's like when you're healthy and you feel good and you go about your work, you don't appreciate that you feel so good. Then when you get sick, then you remember, oh boy, it was sure nice when I felt good. And then when you feel good again, then you appreciate it. You know, after you've been really sick, let's say you ate something that was wrong. So you got really sick for a day. And then a day later, you felt better again. And never did a little bit of water or a little bit of soup taste so good. Never was the blue sky and the birds singing, never were they so sweet. You see what I mean? So I want to talk to you a little bit about what I've been writing about lately. I'm writing a new newsletter, and it's going to be also in a new book. I'm talking about how God created love. He created love, you know. And I guess you never really thought of it. But you see, God created a lot of wonderful things. Nature, animals, the stars, chemistry, mathematics, physics. When you look out at the trees and the plants, and earlier this morning there were 2 deer across the street. I was watching them. Magnificent creatures. And the beautiful plants at this time of the year, flowers everywhere. Magnificent. He created them. But they're all mechanical. They're all mechanical, and they do what they're supposed to do. A bird does what a bird's supposed to do, and a flower does what a flower's supposed to do. And they really don't have any choice. They just do what they're supposed to do, and it's good. But God wanted to create love. So how could he do that? Well, he had to create an alternative to him and his kingdom and his way. An alternative that could be so enticing that it would lure people away. And thereby, this enticing alternative kingdom, alternative lifestyle, alternative way of being and living and moving could become a total package deal. In other words, a person once immersed in and ensconced in this alternative could live a whole life in that alternative way of living. Only those who yearn for something, yearn for the truth, yearn for something sweet and something good and something pure, something beyond the scrap heap. They yearn, there's something in them that yearns and then searches. Do you remember back in the 60s and 70s? You're probably too young to remember, but maybe you've seen them. Bumper stickers that said, "Question authority." Well, there was something nice about that. Question authority. Only those who question and yearn for true answers really question and really yearn for a pure love. You know, a disinterested love. They say, what is the appreciation of art or something? It's a disinterested appreciation of, or a disinterested interest in. In other words, you're not doing it for any purpose. You're not doing it to get perks, to get approval, to get praise, to get somebody off your back, to make money, to get even. The only reason you're doing it is because you love it. So only those who search with a pure heart, in other words, who really, really search and yearn for something else, will find it. And then he begins to reveal himself, and they are presented with an option and an escape from this total immersion. Now, why the total immersion? Well, first of all, see, God wanted to create love. So first of all, he made it very enticing. And then that it would have a tremendous hold on a person, so that only those who really, 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 really wanted the real thing, who would search and would find it. So, but there's another reason why he made. So you probably wonder, well, why these things where we become subject, where we become slaves, where we become addicted and compulsive. and why we keep being drawn back to the scene of the crime, why we keep going back over and over to the wrong kind of people, the wrong kind of food, the wrong kind of substance, the wrong kind of drugs, the wrong kind of environments, and why we keep doing the wrong thing, and why we hang on to something and we can't let go of it. We don't want to let go of a grudge. We don't want to let go of resentment. We don't want to let go of something that we're seeking. We're looking for our retirement. We don't want to lose our pension. If we stay just another 6 years, you'll have your pension. We don't want to let go of it. Of so many things. And we can't. Well, we can't. But once again, see, you have to really, 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 really want to. But anyway, so now you can see that if, for example, God created this there was this alternative way, but there was constant intrusion of the other way into it. In other words, that a person wasn't totally in it. Then there would be conflict. There would be confusion, and there couldn't be love because the other would keep intruding and would cause conflict, and the person would feel pain and would feel confusion and would feel agony, and eventually might capitulate to try to go back to God's kingdom, just resentful resignation for not being able to totally get rid of it, or out of fear, or out of wanting to buy peace. You see? So there has to be a way that a person who loves this alternative way without God can be totally immersed in it and totally held by it. And it's a kind of a blessing for them. I mean, a blessing with quotation marks around it, in that they can live their wrong lifestyle. They can work too much and eat too much and do the wrong things and say the wrong things and support the wrong causes and do it all without conflict, without pain, without any knowledge even that they're doing anything wrong. So they can live their life and have its pleasures. See, this other side has its pleasures, doesn't it? And its fulfillments, and its goals, and its leaders, and its support. It has it all. Only the person who truly yearns for something else will find it. Will even begin to seek for it. See, if there's no seeking, how can there be finding? If you don't even know that you're wrong, if you're not the slightest bit interested in something other, then you're not going to seek for it. If there's no seeking, then there won't be any finding. So you have these two realms, like parallel dimensions. You have the kingdom of God, and then you have the world. Christ called it the world. Now, why? Well, first, it has a metaphysical component. There's a spirit. You call it the dark side, or the devil. You call it what you want. But there's a spirit that approaches the soul and suggests something, suggests an alternative. And then when the soul inclines toward that, and then reaches, remember the Garden of Eden? Adam and Eve ate of the forbidden food. So when they ate that forbidden food, they ate it ambitiously, rebelliously, egotistically, willfully, you see? And that clinched the deal. That sealed the deal. And it extended this hold now. Now the dark side had a claim. Now Satan had a claim on Adam, didn't he? Before he didn't have a claim, now he has a claim. And not only that, but the food that was eaten wrongly, the wrong food eaten wrongly, now has a hold upon the person. Remember, I said it's a package deal. There has to be a way that a person who rejects God for whatever reason and chooses this other way There has to be a way for them to have to be safe, in quotation marks, from conflict and conscience. And, the good angel casting doubt upon what they're doing and making them feel bad about it. They can't live their life. They would eventually have to capitulate to the good side, but not out of love. So God had to allow them to go about their business, doing all their wrong things. So the world has its goals, its achievements, its accolades, its rewards, its perks, its promises, its pleasures, its excitements, its fulfillments, its supports. You see? And a person can live just like a deer. A deer has its environment, it has its supports and its pleasures, and it can live its life without any conflict. So now you get it. So the world. Metaphysical. So there has to be a whole then. So now do you get the idea? Someone, in order to choose this other lifestyle and be able to live this other lifestyle, just like a deer. Let's suppose that somehow a deer could start to think, gee, if I was a human being, then I could live in a warm house, and I could drive around in a car instead of walking, and so on and so forth. Pretty soon the deer would be totally confused and unhappy, and these thoughts would intrude constantly, and the deer wouldn't enjoy its enjoyments anymore. And you see, so the deer blissfully goes about its existence without anything to cause it conflict. And that's the way the person is in this alternative, in the world. There is a hypnosis that holds the mind and keeps it safe from the truth and attached to folly. There are the pleasures of things done selfishly, wrongly, egotistically, pridefully. But even there's even just a natural hold on a person. Food casts a magic spell over people. It keeps them hypnotized. It keeps them immersed. Over and over again they eat, and it reinforces the fallen way of life. Over and over they get angry, it reinforces it. They become resentful, it reinforces it. Over and over they think bitterly about something, it reinforces the willful life. Over and over they try, it reinforces that life. They struggle, they try, they reach for something enticing, it reinforces the fallen life. And they hearken to the voice in the mind that eggs them on, and it reinforces the fallen life. So now you get it. So now do you understand why you must yearn for something good, something innocent, something pure, and cry out to your Creator, and He hears you and He answers, and He sends a little bit of light. He sends a little bit of light so that you can see things as they are. And He pulls you back a little bit from your total immersion in your work and your problems and your issues and your goals and plans and everything else. He pulls you back a little bit. So you have a little distance. And you're a little closer to Him. And that's how it begins. A little distant. The meditation helps give you that distant feeling. You're like when you're driving down the highway and your hands are on the steering wheel, and all of a sudden your hands feel like they're somebody else's hands. A little distant. Or have you ever had a situation where something happened? One of your loved ones is in the hospital or something. And then you walk around and you're a little bit distant to things. You don't get lost in every little argument and every little joke and every little intrigue and every little gossip. You have a little distance to it. Well, somehow God gives you a little bit of distance. And you can see things as they are. And you're a little closer to Him. And now you begin to be free. Free for the first time. See, because we're born into this fallen life. So that's the thing. You never had the original choice that Adam had. He had the original choice, but you haven't. You're born into this. So you've never had a choice about it. You've just been immersed in this, in your family and your culture and everything else. But now you have all of a sudden a choice factor. And you don't have to have the smoke. You don't have to have the marijuana. You don't have to resent the person. You don't have to get angry. See, somebody comes with some argument, you don't have to engage it. Just let it go in one ear and out the other. And God moves upon your, enters your life, and gradually sets you free. It's the most beautiful thing.